The button has been pressed. Hello, happy people. I'm Kat and welcome to CopyKatVlog. My channel is about anything interesting and exciting, and this time it's no exception. My next segment is called What I Care About, so let's get to it. What I care about: thoughts, reflections, and ideas that you can agree or disagree with. Welcome! I'm deeply fascinated by the group dynamics. Now I can finally find an excuse why I always liked reality TV. When I was a kid, my mom would always say, "How can you watch it? It only gives me headaches." I always saw it as fascinating experience in terms of seeing, okay, what would happen if you put these two people together and then maybe they have one dynamics and then you add a third person, and it's almost like food where you just put different ingredients and with adding one extra ingredient the meal could taste better. I always like the game Sims, for example. I also believe it's for that reason, because I always like to invite different neighbors and have different interactions on building a house. Maybe it's like a special personality type that I have. I know according to Briggs, I'm ENFP. Recently, I joined tennis class in Spain, and once again, I feel like I'm in school and I have to go through motions of, being introduced to the group, being the newcomer, being a bit silent and reserved at first, and then slowly unveiling and opening my personality. And I know a lot of people find this process tedious, especially introverts for whom it's really hard to open up. When we become adults, we tend to just stick to certain groups that already exist within our circle. And for me, being immigrant and living in 6 different countries and moving from one place to another, I kind of had to enter new groups one after another. And in every group, you kind of face this similar feeling, like you can be anyone, you can start life from the new blank sheet of paper, which is very tempting to some people. But also it gets tiring when you want to settle down and you want to live in one place, but still you can't have all your friends in that place, and you have to leave your comfort zone. You have to go to different groups to mingle with people, to get to know them, and I think it can be a very lonely experience. I have gone through that several times. It's lonely because there are people in your life that know you for some years, so you don't have to do that small talk anymore. They just get you. You can pick up from the last conversation and continue. But with many people, it's like you have to do, hey, I'm from there, I live in this country, and now I do this for work. I've done that so many times, and often I came back home after that, and I felt very lonely. It's totally normal as well. I think we can expect people who don't know us to immediately get us, and also, I think it takes a lot of time for people to get used to you. I experience that a lot with animals. I sometimes have very overpowering energy, and when I see a dog or a cat, I tend to run to them. I want to cuddle them. I want to give all my love and all my attention. And that's the kind of person I am. Sometimes I'm very intense, and sometimes as soon as I like someone in the group, I want them to know. Like, I just want to come and make it evident. And I think a lot of people have their walls, and the older we get, unfortunately, the bigger the walls. No matter how old you are, if you are entering a new group, you have to be prepared for either good dynamics, maybe medium dynamics, and sometimes there are toxic dynamics. And sometimes there is also unknown dynamics. Every group has a structure, and from what I described about my tennis group, it might sound that it's a toxic group or whatever, that I have problems with it. But the reality is I don't. But it made me look into it through the lens of realizing how every group has its hierarchy, how it takes time to get used to any group, and how sometimes what fascinates me so much is that entering a group, you can also take on different roles, and sometimes those roles are unknown to you. I'm currently reading a book called Schopenhauer's Cure by Irvin Yalom, psychiatrist. This was actually my first book that I read by this author, and it's about power of group therapy. I come from a country where group therapy isn't really a thing. In Russia, even therapy isn't a thing. I think many people are afraid to go to therapists because they're afraid the therapist will tell somebody else their secrets, which of course is not true, and it kind of defeats the purpose of being therapist. That's the whole ethical code of being a doctor. Group therapy, I guess the biggest fear of every person is that you won't fit. Being a joke of a group, or not being accepted or being excluded from a group can be very painful and disorienting. Because as a kid, I remember I read Robinson Crusoe, a book where he ends up on a desert island. He has his companion called Friday, but aside from that, like, he's alone for many years. And it just shows that, like, of course we can survive, but mentally it's good for us to surround ourselves with the right people. We are very group dependent, and what I find very sad is that according to a lot of statistics, there is loneliness epidemic. You think, oh my god, like, there are almost 8 billion people, how can we be lonely? Yet the statistics that I found about the US, but many other different countries, I think many countries simply don't have that statistics gathered. People start drinking or taking drugs. I think it's about loneliness. I think often, I'm not gonna say for all cases, it's about that feeling of wanting to find your people. And of course, the hardest part is that takes a lot of work. I find it extremely interesting how one group can destroy you and then another group can heal you, can empower you, can make you feel amazing. Once I was part of a conference about human rights. One of the guests was a guy from Germany who used to belong to neo-Nazi group, and at first it shocked me. Obviously, there were some participants in our group from different countries, with different skin color, with different religions. And at first, to hear that there is a member who came to tell his story, who used to belong to neo-Nazi, I was like, seriously? How is this guy even allowed into this building? He was from a very small German town, and he just joined a group of friends who turned out to be neo-Nazis. They didn't know any better. The way they are is the only way to be, and anyone who is different doesn't have right to exist. And he said, like, yeah, they would be very cruel to other people, especially people of different colors. And I remember at the conference there was a girl of a different skin color, and she said, well, in another world we wouldn't even meet because you would probably try to attack me or do something bad to me. And he said, well, unfortunately that's true. And hearing that he wanted to belong somewhere and he joined that group also made me realize, yeah, how often people can join, I don't know, the radical example is extremist groups, but that also comes to mind right now because so often people just want sense of belonging. To anyone who's watching this video, choose wisely which group you belong to. Make sure that you still get to stay yourself. Make sure that the group stands for the right things. Sometimes it's really hard because at the times of being vulnerable, of giving so much of yourself to a certain group of people and then realizing that maybe you disagree with these people, you're not on the same page. It's a very debatable thing if you can still be friends with group members that politically disagree with you. I saw this meme where two girls are saying, one is saying, I can still be your friend even if I disagree, and another says, well, I'll just put this picture here just to make it easier. I read about such thing called bystander effect. So, for example, when you ask in the group, hey guys, can anyone help me? Can anyone do this task? Everyone would stay silent because it's like a classroom again where the teacher asks who wants to answer, and everyone sits hoping, oh my god, I hope it's not me, I hope it's not me. So they're basically being bystanders. But one of the life hacks for that is addressing people personally. If you say to a person, hey John, can you please help me with this? It's way better. A lot of people in groups like to take credit for achievements. For example, when your football team wins a match, we all say, oh my God, I'm from this country, of course I belong there. But at the same time, when something was done wrongly, when something unfavorable happens on the political arena, who wants to say they're from that country? Of course, nobody. And groups tend to go quiet and don't take credit anymore. I find really amazing when people can join groups according to their interests and feel like they really belong there, feel very accepted, meet friends through that. I honestly think it's the healthiest way of making friends. Sometimes people get very quickly discouraged. They join a group and something feels off, and that was my feeling at first when I joined my tennis club. Also natural to tell yourself, yeah, when you just enter a new environment, maybe people are not gonna run to you with widespread arms trying to hug you and immediately welcome you. There are people that I've met, they love to jump from one group to another. I would describe such people like they're with everyone and with no one. And when I meet such people, I feel like very bad and lonely for them. We're all people pleasers, so I guess I went through a stage in my life where I also tried to switch between groups. But in the end of the day, pick your battles wisely. I think it's important. Choose the right group of people where you can truly be yourself, and that's the biggest power that we can find in this world, to have a good, stable friendship circle. I would like to hear your thoughts and comments. What kind of groups have you been part of? Give me some positive or negative examples. I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe you gathered some important thoughts that will help you in life. This is the idea of this little podcast of mine. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Your copycat.